Ever snapped a digital photo at a big tourist attraction like Disneyland while dozens of other people are doing the same thing? Well, let's say you came home and uploaded all your pictures into a social network site like Flickr. You were standing here, that guy was over there, each of you catching a different angle. Well, clever software could fuse together all those images, thousands of them, into a nearly complete virtual environment created by hundreds of photographers who've never even met. That clever software is called Photosynth, and its architect, Blaise Aguirre-Yarcas of Microsoft, is here to show us how it works. Hello, Blaise. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Photosynth came out of a program that you developed called Seadragon. Tell us about that.
Seadragon is an environment for interacting with really large volumes of visual information. So you can pan and zoom around through really large numbers of images.
Very cool.
They can be either digital camera sized, like these, or they can be really high resolution, like this guy, which is from the Library of Congress's map collection. This is a hundreds of megapixels image, and it doesn't matter. The performance is independent of the size of the objects or how many we have up on the screen at once.
Are you zooming right into text right there, or?
This is actually not text. This is digitized imagery. Over here we have an example of some real text. This is a book by Dickens. It's Bleak House. The entire book is here. Every column is a chapter. And we can really dive right in until we're looking at the individual letters.
You can move into that really quite seamlessly, though.
That's right. And this can be either local data or it can be out on the web somewhere. It doesn't matter.
And it loads that quickly? How is that?
The reason it loads so quickly is because the amount of information you need at any given moment is always constrained by the size of your screen. Either you can be really diving in and looking at small details of something, or you can be zoomed out and looking at the entire object. Either way, the amount of information you need is really limited.
Okay, so basically it's just the number of pixels that show up on your screen, and that doesn't ever change.
Exactly.
So what do we have here? This looks like a lot of shady little dots.
This is St. Mark's Square, and it's a version of St. Mark's Square in 3D that's been reconstructed just from photos.
Wow. How does the computer know how to put these images together?
What the computer's doing is it's analyzing all of these images for features. And those features are points that have some unique property around them, that have some unique visual appearance. And it's looking for those features in all of the photos, and it's finding correlations between those features. We can see exactly how many images we're using to reconstruct this space by going to this view, which shows us all of the images that were the input into the algorithms for reconstructing the environment. And in this mode, we can kind of zoom around in that space just like we could in Seadragon. And we can select an image and go to that spot. So like this is a Campanile image. You can see that all these images have been arranged in space in a way that correlates with the way they actually lay out in 3D.
Is there a particular algorithm so that the computer knows how to place each photograph?
Yeah, all of those dots that you're looking at in that environment are actually features that were discovered in more than one of those photos. And by figuring out where those features are in 3D space and where the cameras must have been in order to see them where they end up in the image, you're able to do that reconstruction. You see all of these little orange diamonds. Those represent where every camera was when that photo was taken. So if we click on one of them, we go to that image. And now those photos have all been related to each other, so we can take a walk around the square from photo to photo.
And so a lot of different people can upload their own images, whether it's camera phone images or SLR, sort of high-quality camera images?
That's right. So we're expecting a really broad mix of image types and shooting conditions and times of day and so on. And from that whole mix of images, we're going to be able to really start reconstructing in 3D large parts of the Earth.
What do you see as some of the practical applications for this software?
The software isn't just about famous landmarks like this and being able to take virtual tours. It's also about making a mirror for the real world in virtual reality. When the word cyberspace was first invented, there was this idea that it was going to be like an alternate reality in the computer. And nowadays, of course, cyberspace really just means the web. We really are thinking hard about how to make the original vision of cyberspace actually happen.
So the next photos we upload to the web might have a life of their own. Thank you very much, Blaise.
Thank you, Zaya.
Computers are not known for empathy, but a few researchers are trying to put their machines through a little sensitivity training by figuring out what makes human beings pay attention. Zaya Tong went to MIT to befriend the bot.
Reading people's face and body language is so fundamental to the way we communicate that we're barely even aware of it. A smile encourages, a frown cuts us short. That faraway look may just mean it's time to wrap things up. But what if we lost that ability to read others' reactions? What if we couldn't tell if our listener was actually interested but would rather be somewhere else? It's a problem for these kids with a form of autism called Asperger's syndrome.
They seek communication with other people, but they do it in a very awkward way. It's like they don't really quite get the subtle dance of a give and take of a conversation.
Kids will often have difficulty distinguishing between playful teasing and really being teased in a mean kind of way.
They have a hard time making friends. They have a hard time understanding other people's facial expressions.
So Eric, how about you? Do you think you're pretty good at reading people's facial expressions?
No.
Why not?
I don't really look for clues when I talk to people.
Asperger's patients are often highly accomplished, but have difficulty with nonverbal communication. Managing gestures, eye contact, and facial expressions can present a challenge.
But individuals without autism spectrum disorders tend to focus on the eyes, and they go back and forth between the two people talking, looking mostly at the eyes, but also at the whole face and around the context, where the individuals with autism spectrum disorders tend to focus on the mouth only. So you can imagine if you're talking and you're only looking at the person's mouth, you're going to miss a lot of those cues.
Corey, how about you? Are you pretty good at reading other people's facial expressions on your own?
It's hideous.
They don't get the little innuendos and the little social cues that a lot of people pick up. So they might miss out on the joke or miss out on the whole thing that's being inferred. So if there's something that can give them a cue as to what's going on and what other people are reacting to it, they can kind of react in the same way.
Some new technology from MIT's Media Lab in Cambridge, Massachusetts might be just what Asperger's patients need for improving their nonverbal communication skills. It's a software program created by computer scientist Reina El-Kalioubi.
So the software is called Mind Reader, but I'd like to point out that the use of the word mind reading is very specific. In the autism community, mind reading means that you're using observed cues like facial expressions to make a guess at the person's mental state.
The devices can be used in two ways: to help the students recognize facial cues in others, or to help them perfect their own emotional responses.
You pull your eyebrows up?
They're also used as audio aids, where the students can privately hear the computer's reactions.
Thinking.
People looking at facial expressions, we're looking at the prototypic basic emotions, which are very exaggerated and you don't see them in everyday life. And I was more interested in the ones, the affective and cognitive states that you see in everyday interactions, like interest, confusion, thinking, concentration. And I started looking at examples of these, and I noticed that you had to combine facial expressions with head gestures and also look at how these change over time.
The software works by locking on to facial features.
It tracks 22 feature points on the face: your eyebrows, your eyes, your mouth, your nose. And it uses the motion patterns of these points to recognize different facial expressions, like a smile and a pucker and an eyebrow raise and so on, and head gestures like a head nod and a head shake. And then it combines those over time and makes a guess at your affective or cognitive state.
Okay.
The team at MIT is experimenting with wearable platforms. I met with the engineer who's helping to make the system portable.
Okay, well, this out here on the end is an analog camera. It's facing into your face, and it's connected through to this laptop. And what we're doing here is you can see these little green dots on your face.
Right.
And,
So should we test some of them out?
yeah, so let's test them out. A good one is to start with is agreeing. So what would you do if you're agreeing with what I say? Agreeing. There you go. You can see the red line goes up. So how about interested?
Aaliyah is looking for a spike in the green line.
Concentrating. You're getting a lot of concentrating and interested. And that's interesting because you're concentrating on the computer and you're interested in it. Right, yes.
Okay, I gotcha.
It's actually difficult sometimes to make expressions on purpose.
Right.
And it's very different when you go to spontaneous facial expressions. And that's part of what we're getting at here. Interested.
There you go. There's interested.
Oh, is that interested? All of a sudden it just subconsciously came out. Great, okay. The software was originally developed to learn if computers could decipher the emotional states of their users. But the team discovered a real-world application for people who have trouble reading facial expressions.
We soon realized that the same software that we're developing can be used to help individuals on the autism spectrum learn about social communication in a natural environment.
And the kids I met at the Groden Center are putting that software to the test. What do you think it's good at doing?
It's good at picking up on important key features in someone's face and interpreting them. It's not always exactly right.
Our approach is unique because we insist on including individuals on the autism spectrum in the design and development of our technology. We're not sort of giving them an end product and throwing it at them. We're actually involving them in the design process.
What if you had another camera that pointed in the opposite direction? So that way it could tell, and another screen on it, so it could tell you other people's emotions.
So that way you'd be able to read what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
And that's what's more important to you.
I think so. Is that impossible or something?
Most of the traditional research uses actors, they use cartoons. So what we've been doing is using cameras where we can capture footage of the individual themselves and people that they know and care about, like a teacher, like a parent, like a peer.
Smile for me for a second, TJ. Okay, I can see that working. Okay, try looking very interested.
What makes it a really exciting match, I think, is that it's technology, that it's computer technology and video technology, and that's such a nice match for what these individuals often are very interested in the first place.
Because each time I use my probability over there, it tells how many seconds I'm doing it.
Right now, the program can make a limited number of inferences based on facial cues and head nods. It has only about a 60% chance of getting it right in the real world.
Disagreeing.
The problem of recognizing and communicating the cognitive affective state is an enormous problem. With the face, you're starting with over 40 different moves of the individual muscles. There's actually 10,000 different faces estimated that we can send to each other.
And the camera has to be able to accurately track the face.
I think it would be good if something was walking, because it'd be continuously be like that.
Right now, one of the biggest limits of the technology is when you go into natural environment where people are moving around a lot and you're wearing a camera. If you don't properly frame the face, the software may not find the face. You know, I could be looking at the bookshelves and it could be confused. It sees a face in the books and it tells me my bookshelves are interested, right? And of course they aren't. But the software is still pretty stupid.
There's a lot of ways with which we can improve this technology in terms of its accuracy in detecting the different mental states, in terms of adding more facial expressions and more head gestures.
What if I put my hands up?
Yeah, eventually I guess maybe one day they'd be able to incorporate more things in there, right?
Most of research in autism spectrum disorder now goes to epidemiology, it goes to neurology, and it goes to genetics. But none of that research translates into anything that an individual who currently has the diagnosis. It's for future generations. These people need intervention research now. And so the technological approach is here and now. We're helping individuals who currently have the disorder.
For Wired Science, this is Zaya Tong.
Agreeing.